Hey guys, today I am tackling a task I've been slightly dreading only because I don't want to mess it up. I'm going to be repainting a really dirty but otherwise in good condition storage drawer organizer that I got from my local thrift store. My idea is to clean it up and paint it in my favorite colors with an added favorite iconic character. Now everyone that knows me knows I can't draw, but I've always wanted to learn, so I'm going to use this opportunity to start practicing. So let's see how it turns out. Okay, so to start, I've already begun cleaning this thing some, and then I realized that part of the makeover process is the before and after. Duh, I know, right? Whoever knew that would be an important part of a makeover? Anyways, here's the wet wipe for filth proof because I know you wanted to see that. I'm going to give this thing a really good once over because I cannot stand dirt and grime. I put on these cheapy food grade gloves because it just disgusts me to touch filth. And I'm making sure to get into all the tiny little crevices and corners because I want this as spotless as possible. And while we're at it, let's see what's in here.
Hello there.
Another future makeover candidate, I guess. We'll see if anyone cares to see something done with her. Alright, let's get these jars cleaned out really well. They were actually pretty grimy and dirty on the insides, just like the outer case, but these were more quick and easier to do than all the little crevices and corners that the outer case had, so I was pleasantly happy with that at least. Also, there is a pink spot or something that literally won't come out of only one single drawer, which drives me nuts, but you know, that's okay. We don't care about things like that. Gonna put the jars back in once they're done, and this is all cleaned and ready for the next step, so let's go. So here is where I'm going to do the meat of the design. I basically want it in the center if possible, and the rest of this case will get a 2 gradient color block. Now I have a piece of sandpaper that I'm going to be thoroughly sanding this thing all over with as well as possible because I actually did a test painting because I was worried about messing this up on a smaller storage organizer I've had for a while. And I found that without sanding and even with light sanding, the paint kept pulling up in some areas where I go in for like a second coat. So I'm going to be sure to sand that really well. And then I'm going to go in with a kind of slightly muted hot pink. And I'm going to carry that over both sides. And I actually honestly didn't intend to do the sides because I thought they wouldn't be able to be seen. But I had already started painting it and then I had to keep going. It turns out it was a good call because they are completely visible from the sides. So I guess it's a good thing my brain tripped up and I painted it. So I guess I'm patting my brain on the back. I mean, brains don't have backs. Anyways, I'm doing the top half in a slightly muted baby pink. I mean, I guess it's baby pink. I don't really know, to be honest. I just mixed up pinks until my mind was like, yep, that's the color I want. And then I went with it. Also, I can really tell the difference between the brand of paints. I was using Apple Barrel for the bottom and Apple Barrel mixed with another type of brand, and it was a nicer, thicker paint, so it was very smooth when painting and didn't really come up later during the second coat. Oh, here comes a bigger batch of mixed background colors. I realized it wasn't enough on the other paint palette, so I switched. Also, I'm thinking that the problem might not be the actual paints I'm using, but I think Sterilite plastic is just not good for painting on with acrylics. And I say that because this was just really difficult both times I painted on storage organizers. It keeps coming out kind of spotty since I have to be careful in between coats because it'll just start pulling up like paint rubber as if I put acetone on it. And during the color blending, I found it especially hard to do with the previous coat rubbing off even though it was completely dry. So I was basically dabbing and slightly rubbing the paints with my fingers lightly to try and blend small areas. Maybe it was the paintbrush, but this brush was like a 2-pack for $5, so I thought that made it a slightly higher quality than the really cheap sets. And I got it because it said it was great for blending and I knew I'd need that, but then again, it could just be a mixture of things that I'm using and doing wrong. Also, do you see the slight shift in direction as the camera ever so slowly moves before the boom arm just came unattached from the desk and split the face of my fingernail halfway down the nail bed? It was a bloody mess underneath my fingernail, but I just paused in shock for a bit and then decided to keep going because content, right? Now, here's the part that made me hesitate finishing this project for literally weeks. I just didn't want to mess it up, and someone who sucks at drawing as much as me, I just knew I'd do it. And you know what? I did. I did mess it up. His muzzle came out too big, and the smile part, I don't know what you call that piece, but like the smile part of his cheeks looked like bags under his eyes. And when I saw that, I was like, oh no, this is not going well. It's poop. So here I go repainting over all of that, and at this point I started panicking in my mind if I could actually do this. I tried to reblend the paint as well, but this case wasn't really taking too well to it. The second time around, his face did come out a little better, so I decided to just go with it. I was like, I don't think I can repaint over this and try to draw this again. I need to just go with what I've got. Luckily, it was not too bad, so yeah, we can do this, you know. Once the drawing was complete, it was a little easier as I kind of just needed to outline it with my fine liner, and I used that as a guide just so I wouldn't kind of paint outside the lines. And then I started the painting process, which was actually a lot more fun, I guess, than the drawing part, since I wasn't as scared with it because I knew I had my colors all set. So I pre-mixed basically all the colors I would need for the different areas of his face, and then I actually just painted. Well, I actually had some issues later, but I'll get to that later on. I actually had to use a drawing tutorial just to learn how to draw Pink's face. So shout out to Cartooning Club, How to Draw, because I don't think I would have learned what I did without practicing with his tutorial. Now back to the pink job. I actually was not feeling the pink for Pink's face, and I ended up remixing the color to darken it multiple times until I got a decent color. And then once I did finally get a decent color, I just left it alone because it was getting late, to be honest, and I had already done his face like 3 or 4 different times. I even had to pause off camera just to try to mix up the color I thought was decent enough and then come back to it. It was almost 3 a.m. at this point. I was so tired. I was so ready to be done with this, and my finger was hurting and still bloody from the beating it took at the beginning of this video. So I kind of just needed to get it done so I could just at least try to address the bloody mess that was my finger. Anyways, I think this was the final coat I did for Pink's face, and then I started in with the paint pens, and I was going to use that basically for all of the smaller details because I figured that might be a lot easier than trying to paint them in. So I literally just went by each piece, painting in small details, and that was actually really fun for me because it was a lot easier than what I'd been doing. And then after that was done, the final task was just to go through and outline everything with the black paint pen to make the artwork pop better against the background. And that's it. It is all done. It actually came out pretty great considering all the suffering I went through to get here. I've never been so happy to finish a project as I was with this one. So if you guys are interested in seeing more DIY painting or makeover content, please let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!